Hi everyone, welcome to episode 5 of My Campus GPS Facebook Live. This is the place where we talk about how parents can help their high school student prepare for university. And tonight we're talking about an email organization tip that your student can use to stay on top of all the really important stuff that they'll need to stay on top of, especially during grade 12. So I'm Janet McDonald, and I'm a former university admissions officer, and I help high school students and parents with preparing for university. So that includes university admission and career exploration and scholarship preparation. So I'm on a bit of an email kick this week, I think, because earlier in the week I posted a blog post about the importance of your student knowing how to write a professional email, and I also gave tips on how they can write that professional email. So I'm talking about professional meaning, suitable for an employer or a referee for a scholarship application, or to a professor or something like that. So that blog post got me thinking about email in general and how important it is to stay on top of email and to learn how to manage that. And it's not something really that I think a lot of students are taught in any kind of formal way. So I thought that I should do a live on this because it is important that your student knows how to manage their email, and we're going to talk about the reasons for that. But you know yourself how difficult it is sometimes to manage email and organize it. So it is a skill, and how many of us are at inbox zero? I mean, there are books on this, there are courses on email management and all that stuff, and obviously that's not the detail that we're going to get into here tonight, but it is a skill that can be learned, and then of course any skill that can be learned can be turned into a habit, so a good habit in this case, hopefully. So I do want to draw your attention to how important email will be to your student, especially in grade 12. And then I'm going to give you a tip on how to help your student be prevented from missing out on opportunities as well, because as the saying goes, there's nothing more expensive than a missed opportunity. That's one of my favorite quotes. So this tip will help your student also to look more professional, I guess you would say, and just to manage their communications more effectively. So as I said in some previous lives, is that my role in helping you is that, I know what's coming up ahead, and I have information on what's going to be happening in the future in terms of applying for university. So I'm kind of like up ahead on that road, and my job is to guide you and to help you to prevent you from making costly mistakes, and also to help you to take advantage of some of the opportunities that are going to present themselves on the road to university. And managing email is part of that. So let's talk about that. So one of the things that I know from working with students and parents is that they're very busy, and I'm a parent with a student, and I can definitely agree that everybody is very busy. So I also know that when we get busy, we can tend to miss important information, and sometimes that important information is through email. So your student might not have a lot of email to manage at this point, but they will get more along the way. So it will be important, especially in grade 12, that they learn how to manage this, and then kind of throughout their university program for sure. And part of the reason for this is because the university's main form of communication with your student will be by email. So that's where a lot of that really important information is going to be communicated to your student through email. So in grade 12, it's critical that your student reads each and every email from each university that they've applied to. so that they don't miss anything important, because these emails will contain information like the status of their acceptance, their scholarship offer if they're being offered one, instructions on when and how to apply for residence, and when and how to register for classes. So the other important part of this is that a lot of those pieces of information will be time sensitive. So, for example, if your student has applied for a competitive program or a limited enrollment program, there are only so many seats in the program, then they may have a limited time to respond to the offer of the seat before it's released to another student. Scholarship offers from universities are normally time sensitive. They normally do have a period of time where you're required to respond to the scholarship offer. Remember, scholarships from universities are a recruitment tool, and they do want you to confirm your attendance at their particular institution. And the other thing is that your choice of residence may be time sensitive. It might be a first come, first served basis that residence is allotted on. So it might be, you know, the building that your student wants, or the type of room or whatever that may have a time limit on it. And registering for classes, that's a big one, because the more choice is available earlier on in the process. So if your student, for example, wants to take certain courses, then the selection is better at the beginning when registration first opens. Or if they want to create a schedule so that they keep some time open, for example, so that they're able to work or whatever, the more choices for time of classes, again, will be at the beginning of registration. So again, this is all, you know, information that is going to come via email, and so it will be time sensitive, and you'll want to stay on top of that. So, you know, there might be some snail mail that comes from the institution, but normally that's not the case. So I know that it's difficult for me to manage email sometimes, so you can imagine what it will be like for your teenager who hasn't had a lot of you know, training or skill or experience with this. So emails can get lost, they can get deleted, or they can probably, most often, will just simply go unread. So I was working with a student a while back, and you know, we lived really close, and it was kind of an ongoing relationship I had with this student. So we actually met in person, and I said to him, did you read that email that I sent to you this week on this this topic? And so he opened up his email, and he had over 600 unread emails, and this is the same email that he was using, you know, to correspond with universities. So I said, you know, it's really critical that you stay on top of this so that you're not missing out on this information. So, you know, you're just kind of asking for trouble if you're not staying on top of this. So here's an idea for your student to gain some email efficiency. It's to create a separate email that they only use for their more official business. So not business with friends or family, put it that way. So this means they could create, for example, a new Gmail account that they're only going to use for correspondence with universities, scholarship organizations, requests for references for scholarships, their volunteer manager, and their employer, anything like that, anything that's a little bit more official. And of course, this email should have a kind of professional sounding name too. So, you know, something that is like if it's janesmith2000@gmail.com or whatever, they do, people can see the email address, so you want to keep that professional as well. So I'm curious to know, you know, at this point, does your student have any difficulty with managing email? Do they have a system in place right now that they're using? Are they using this system where they keep a separate email specifically for this more official business? So I would love to know that, and does this work for them, or what system are they using, and does it work? So I'm sure I love efficiency tips and stuff, and you probably do too. And as parents, we're always trying to keep our kids kind of on track. So any kind of tips that you can share with us, that would be great. So if you just put those in the comments, then that would be great to share those. A busy parent helping another busy parent. So once that email, that separate email, has been set up, what your student can do then is to create some folders, where they're separate folders where they're going to keep separate types of information. So let's say they they've applied to Queen's and Dal and UBC. So they could make separate folders, one for Queen's, one for Dal, one for UBC, and then put that correspondence for each one in those folders. And they can also make a folder for scholarships, so all of their scholarship information, their any correspondence they are having with scholarship organizations, if they've asked for a question or something, or requests for references for their scholarships, all of that stuff can get put into there. I mean, the last thing that you want is for your student to request a reference letter from someone. That can be very time consuming for people to write those reference letters, especially if it's a good one. And so you don't want to jeopardize that relationship, by losing that email or deleting it by mistake or whatever. So important to take care with that. And then another a folder might just be miscellaneous or whatever. So you get the picture. Some way that this is set up so it's more of a system for them to keep track of stuff, rather than just kind of willy-nilly. You want to help them to create a system that works for them, so that this becomes a good habit that they're developing. And I'm always saying that this type of stuff is great to learn in grade 11, because grade 12 will be so busy that if you can kind of download some of this learning to grade 11, the student will already know how to do this, and they'll be all set to go when the really busy time of grade 12 starts to happen. They'll be on top of it already. So now this system only works, obviously, if your student is checking that separate email address. So they need to find a way to remember to check that. So maybe that's setting an alarm or something on their phone so that they remember to do this, and then that becomes a habit for them to regularly check this separate professional email. So how can this tip help specifically with scholarships? This is actually where this can come in really handy, because when they're searching for scholarships, one of the first things that I recommend students do is to sign up for scholarshipscanada.com. That's all one word, scholarshipscanada.com. So that's like a scholarship search engine, I guess you would say. It lists thousands of scholarships, and what students can do is they can set up a profile, make a profile for themselves, and put their various information into it, and Scholarships Canada will match scholarships to their profile to try to get fit for them. And these matches can be sent by email. You can elect to have those sent by email. So once your student creates their profile, and they'll start to get matched with scholarships from scholarships.com, and so the emails will come in, and they can then review the information, see if they meet the criteria, and elect whether or not they're going to apply for the scholarship. And if they meet the criteria, I suggest they do. So as soon as your student hits grade 12, and by that I mean September, because remember, scholarships start to come out in October of grade 12. So as soon as they hit grade 12, they should sign up at scholarships.com, create this profile, and then they'll start to get matched with scholarships based on that profile information. So once grade 12 hits, they'll have a lot of new kind of information that they'll have to keep organized. So like I say, that's when this can really come in handy. And for parents, it's really important that this stuff should be done by your student. They should learn how to manage their own email because they'll have to do it in university on their own, and so it's best to kind of get these good habits developed early if you can. So we can definitely help them to understand why this is important, to help them to set it up and remind them to check it and all of that sort of stuff. But the student should really take ownership over their own email so that this, like I say, this is a skill that's learned that turns into a good habit. So now just an extra pro tip for those people who always want to do more. Students can actually set up their email signature for example, in Gmail. It's a really simple thing to do. So that's just their name, maybe their email address, maybe their school name and their class that they're graduating, whatever information that they want to add. So this just makes it look a little bit more professional, and it saves them from typing the same information over and over again. So to do that, you can just Google how to set up a signature in Gmail, and it will give you the instructions, and it's really simple to do. So as I mentioned earlier, if your student needs a few tips on how to write a professional email for admissions or for a referee or employer or whatever, I just posted that blog on my website at mycampusgps.ca/blog, so you can have a look at that. I hope you found this useful. I would really like to hear from the busy parents themselves or the students, and let me know what you're doing to manage your email, if you're using this tip and how it's working for you. And any other efficiency tips too would be great to share with other busy parents. And if you'd like more of these types of organizational tips, you can also let me know that in the comments, and I have a few more that I can share with you. So if you like these types of tips, then I can do more of that. So I hope that is helpful in helping your student to manage all of so that they're not getting caught up in costly mistakes, and they're taking advantage of all the great opportunities that are available to them in grade 12. And I will see you next week. Thanks.